Hello everyone. Some stories are born not from ease, but from struggle, from nights of rain and days of quiet sacrifice. One stormy day, Huyen and Dee completed their dream house. With the help of a kind friend, the wind still howled outside, but inside stood a home fragile in wood, yet strong in love. Huyen's eyes filled with tears as she whispered, her voice trembling with gratitude and fear. If it weren't for Dee, would my mother and I still have a place to rely on? In that moment, the walls became more than shelter. They became a promise of safety, of belonging, and of love that could weather any storm. The sky was heavy with dark clouds, and the sound of distant thunder rolled across the hills. In the small clearing at the edge of the village, Dee stood on the roof, his hands steady as he laid the last palm leaves into place. Below him, Huyen looked up with anxious eyes, her heart pounding with every gust of wind. Maya sat nearby on a bamboo mat, her small hands clutching a piece of roasted sweet potato, humming softly to ease the silence. For days, the rain had delayed them, soaking the palm leaves and flooding the foundation. But today, even with the storm threatening to return, Dee refused to stop. If we don't finish now, the leaks will only get worse, he said, his voice calm but full of determination. Just then, their neighbor who arrived, carrying a bundle of tools on his shoulder. I couldn't let you struggle alone, he smiled, wiping the sweat from his brow. Together, the three of them worked quickly, passing leaves, hammering nails, steadying the cart so it wouldn't slide in the mud. The storm clouds rumbled louder, but inside that little clearing, there was nothing but warmth and quiet strength. When the last leaf was secured, Dee climbed down, his shirt soaked with sweat and rain. The house was still humble, its walls simple and its floor bare, but to Huyen it looked more beautiful than any palace. She touched the bamboo frame with trembling hands, her eyes filling with tears. Turning to Dee, she whispered, her voice breaking, "If it weren't for you, would my mother and I still have a place to rely on?" Dee lowered his gaze, his face flushed with emotion. For years, he had known only loneliness, abandoned by his wife, judged for his poverty. Yet here, with Huyen and little Maya, he felt something he had never known before, the warmth of family. That night, as the rain finally poured down, the three of them huddled together inside their new home. The leaks no longer troubled them, and the sweet smell of palm leaves filled the air. Huyen held Maya close. Dee sat quietly by the lamp, and outside, the storm raged on. But in that fragile little house, built with love and sacrifice, there was nothing but peace. The storm did not let up that night. The wind howled through the trees, rain tapped against the bamboo walls, and thunder rolled above them like a restless drum. Yet inside the new house, a soft golden glow from the rechargeable lamp made the space feel safe. Maya curled up on the mat, her tiny voice breaking the silence. "Uncle Dee, when the rain stops, can we plant flowers in front of the house? I want it to be beautiful, so Mom can smile every morning." Dee's lips curved into a tender smile. He looked at the little girl, her hair messy from the long day, her eyes bright despite the storm outside. "Yes, Maya, we'll plant flowers and even guava trees. One day, you'll have a garden full of colors." Huyen, who had been quietly folding the remaining palm leaves to use as mats, stopped and looked at them. Her eyes grew moist again. For so long she had carried her burdens alone, raising Maya, enduring whispers of pity, working until her body trembled with exhaustion. But now, she was not alone anymore. "Dee," she said softly, almost afraid her voice would break. "You've given us more than a house. You've given us hope. I used to think Maya and I would always wander, always struggle without a roof of our own. But tonight, I feel safe for the first time in years." Dee lowered his head, embarrassed by her gratitude. "Don't thank me, Huyen. This house, it's not just mine or yours. It belongs to all three of us. From today, no storm can take away the warmth we build here." For a moment, silence settled between them, filled only by the steady rhythm of rain. Then Maya suddenly sat up, her little hands raised. "Let's promise. Promise that we'll always stay together, no matter how many storms come." Dee and Huyen exchanged a look, their hearts trembling at the child's innocent words. They both placed their hands over hers, forming a small circle of warmth. "I promise," Dee said firmly. "I promise to," Huyen whispered, her tears slipping down. But this time they were tears of joy. The storm outside raged on, but in their little home, a new kind of storm had begun, one of love, of courage, and of unshakable hope. The morning after the storm, the air smelled of wet earth and fresh leaves. Sunlight broke through the clouds, casting golden streaks across the hills. For the first time in many days, the village awoke without the sound of heavy rain. Dee stepped outside, stretching his arms as he looked at the house they had finished. The palm leaf roof glistened under the sun, a fragile shield but one built with care and love. Behind him, Huyen came out carrying a basket, her hair tied neatly, her eyes tired yet full of quiet happiness. "Maya, come eat your breakfast," Huyen called. The little girl skipped outside with a piece of boiled sweet potato in her hand, her laughter echoing in the still morning. As they sat together, Dee spoke, his tone thoughtful. "Now that the roof is finished, I must return to work soon. We need money for food, for Maya's school, and for the electricity line. Building the house was only the first step." Huyen lowered her gaze. She knew he was right. Their savings were nearly gone, and the storm had already delayed their work in the fields. Still, she wished he could stay longer. "I'll help too," she said softly. "Once Maya starts school, I'll find ways to earn more. I don't want you to carry all the weight alone." Before Dee could reply, Maya leaned forward, her little voice full of determination. "I will study hard, Mom. If I study well, the teacher will be proud of me. And one day I can buy Uncle Dee a motorbike. Then he won't have to walk so far." Both adults laughed, but their eyes glistened. Even in her innocence, Maya carried dreams far bigger than herself. Later that day, their kind neighbor who stopped by again, carrying a bundle of vegetables from his garden. "Here," he said, placing the basket on the wooden table. "You'll need this until the soil dries and you can start planting again." Huyen's eyes filled with gratitude. "You've helped us too much already. I don't know how to thank you." "Don't say that," Hu replied, waving his hand. "One day, when others need help, you'll do the same. That's how we survive storms together." As evening fell, Dee lit the rechargeable lamp, its soft glow filling the house. Huyen sat sewing an old shirt. Maya hummed a song while rocking, Bibi the dog in her lap, and Dee sharpened his tools for the coming work. The house was still humble, the struggles far from over. Yet in that small circle of light, There was warmth, laughter, and a fragile sense of peace. And in Huyen's heart, she silently repeated the words she had spoken the day before. If it weren't for Dee, would my mother and I still have a place to rely on? This time, the answer came easily. She no longer doubted. The next morning, the village was alive with chatter. Children ran along the muddy paths. Farmers carried baskets to the fields, and the smell of wood smoke curled into the air. Huyen stood at the doorway, watching Maya adjust her little school bag. It had been a long time since Maya last went to school, and her excitement was impossible to hide. "Mom, do you think my friends will still remember me?" Maya asked, her small hands clutching the strap tightly. Huyen knelt down and brushed the girl's hair gently. "Whether they remember or not, you must study hard. That's what matters most." Dee came over, handing Maya a pair of sandals he had polished the night before. "Walk carefully, Maya, and don't be afraid if someone teases you. Remember, being poor is not shameful. Not trying is." Maya nodded bravely, though deep inside, she still feared the laughter of her classmates. She waved goodbye and skipped down the path, her figure small against the green fields. Huyen watched her daughter until she disappeared into the distance. Then she turned to Dee. "Sometimes I worry. She tries too hard to be strong, even though she's still just a child." Dee placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "She has your strength, Huyen, and she has us. That's more than enough." But just as his words lingered in the air, a voice from the road broke the moment. Two women passing by slowed down, whispering loudly enough for Huyen to hear. "Isn't that the man who was abandoned by his wife?" One said. "Yes. And now he's living here with the widow. TSK. People will talk." The words cut like sharp knives. Huyen's cheeks burned with shame, and she quickly turned away, pretending not to notice. But Dee had heard too. His fists tightened, though his voice remained steady. "Let them talk," he murmured. "They don't know our hearts." Still, Huyen's chest ached. Later, as she prepared rice for lunch, her hands trembled. "Dee, maybe we should wait until your divorce is finalized, until the gossip dies down. I don't want Maya to suffer because of me." Dee set down the bamboo basket he was holding and looked at her firmly. "Huyen, storms will always come outside and inside people's hearts. But if we keep waiting for silence, we'll never live. What matters is that we stand together. I won't let their words take away what we're building." Tears welled in Huyen's eyes, but this time, they were mixed with both pain and courage. She realized that love, like their little house, needed not only care but also the strength to withstand storms. And outside, as if to remind them, the sky darkened again, heavy with another rain. The story of Dee, Huyen, and Maya reminds us that storms in life are not only found in the sky, they also come in the form of hardships, loneliness, and judgment from others. Yet even in the darkest times, love and kindness can build a shelter stronger than any roof. Dee, once abandoned and ridiculed, found new meaning in caring for Huyen and Maya. Huyen, once burdened by fear and poverty, learned to trust again because of Dee's quiet sacrifice. And little Maya, with her innocent dreams, showed that hope can shine even through the simplest things: a flower, garden, a school bag, a promise of tomorrow. The lesson is simple but powerful. Happiness does not come from wealth, or the absence of hardship, but from standing together and facing storms as a family. True strength lies not in avoiding challenges, but in supporting one another through them. No matter how much others may gossip or how harsh life may seem, love that is sincere and steadfast becomes a foundation no storm can destroy.